You're tuned into the show that informs, entertains, inspires, and promotes motorsports everywhere.
Welcome to Winning Wednesday on the Northwest Race Report.
Tonight's show is brought to you by
Miller Kitchen and Bath, Bailey General Contractors, Myers Floor Covering, Welcher's Gun Shop, and Flaming Pig Barbecue.
And by the Wenatchee Valley Super Oval. And by Leonard Evans, Used Car Superstore. And by Product41.com, Atomic Screen Printing. And by BLG, Blue Line Graphics. Be unique, stand out, get noticed. www.blg.blue. And now, back to your horsepower and performance hosts, Terry Bridges and Glenn Lippy Tower. Oh, what is going on, racers? Welcome to another edition of the Northwest Race Report. I'm your horsepower performance host, Terry Bridges, and you'll see it's empty tonight. Number one, Lippy got his box truck jacked from a Home Depot in Tacoma. So lost all of his tools, probably $8,000 to $10,000 worth of tools. So Lippy is... what's up, Joshua Gene? What's going on? Lippy is out. Of course, he got his truck jacked. 8 to 10 grand worth of tools out. Man, wasn't for bad luck. Lippy wouldn't have any at all. The loader would normally be right here to fill in. However, he's at Oregon. His wife's dad is not doing well. From what I understand, it is maybe a week left. So things aren't going good. So please say a prayer for the loader and for Lippy. Hopefully he, I'm pretty sure the box truck will show up. Pretty hard to hide that big white box truck. It's all pure white. But whether or not he gets anything back tool-wise, kind of stinks. Who does that? That's what I want to know. I mean, who does that? So, that's what's going on there. So I'm winging it by myself tonight. Got a cool show for you tonight. Our guest tonight, part 2 of our track owners and promoters. Bear Tomasovich going to be with us, and he'll be with us in about 10 after 7. And we're going to be going over 8 different topics that we have tonight. Ronnie Swire's in the house, baby. So that was probably the loudest drink ever. Sorry. Yeah, it was right here. I'm having a Starship. New Belgium makes it. I'm having a Starship IPA, Voodoo Ranger. Kind of a new one. So I'm into trying out the new IPAs, but looking forward to a big BK. We got so we're going to have part 2 this week, and then we'll be back on February 12th with Bear Tomasovich to finish up our third and final segment in the series, track owners and promoters, and we'll be giving you some tips and tricks as to what you can do if you're a track owner. He's got some really good insight. And tonight, we've got 8 topics that we're going to touch on, and they're really, really, really good. So I encourage you, even if you're not really a track promoter, I think these are good as racers, because now you can kind of see, like Michael Lane said, you can kind of see what these guys are going through. As racers, you guys can see what they're going through and see the other side, and kind of see how you can maybe help out and do your part, in those things, because it takes a village for sure. And by the way, that's great news. Michael Lane is going to be coming out for the BK. He is the head of the new UAS group. That there's 5 different people. Dave Chisholm involved. I know Jody Powell involved. Michael Lane. I think Scott Bowley involved. And so they're the new group that's going to be going to every Grand National that the UAS has. And what's going to happen is they're going to be there to officiate. They're going to be there to make calls. They're going to make sure that the show goes off without a hitch. So I think this is a first step in the right direction of getting the UAS bigger and badder and better than it's ever been. And I think with these 5 guys on board, it can't help but be bigger, badder, and better. That's my assumption. So Michael Lane going to be our guest next week, as well as Product41.com owner Ronnie Swires will be in the house. He'll be here via phone, as will Michael Lane. And so we'll get Michael Lane on first, and then Ronnie Swires will join us for the rest of the hour. We're actually going to go probably an hour and a half next week because it's the big BK show. Lippy going to be with us, and we're going to be touching over, prior winners, maybe some stats as to, the BK. It's just going to be a heck of a good show. If you can see that down here, the 47, that was Steve Blankenship. Want to wish him great luck. He's going down to the Chili Willy down in Tucson with his late model. And he's got Shane Harding as a crew chief down there, so hopefully they do some good things. I was fortunate enough, went and did some hand lettering on his hood for him last week, which was kind of fun. I hadn't done that in a while, and kind of got me rekindled. So, it was kind of a cool week last week. But again, Bear Tomasovich going to be joining us here in just a few minutes. He'll be calling in, and again, part 3 of our segment will be on February 12th because we're going to take next week and the week after to do all BK12 events, which, by the way, is brought to you by Central Washington Asphalt, Inc., one of the great sponsors heading up this whole thing, and he's making a lot of big things happen. The Race of Champions on Friday night, and, of course, the big BK12 on Saturday. Want to give a big shout-out to Mr. Brandon Susich, little young man. He is a little hoopster, and he made it to the state round of the hoop shootout competition, which will be on February 8th. So that's the weekend, I think, right after the BK. So big shout-out to Brandon Bubba Susich for shooting the lights out of that bad boy. And, I want to give a big shout-out. We talk about Michael Lane getting out here. Hey, what's up, Cravitron? Everything is going great. Thank you so much. What up, Robert Somerhalder? Ron Pritt, what's going on? Dirt 360 going to be there televising. I got to get with him so we get some good stuff on here. What's up, Dustin Armstrong? And he says, Team Blankenship. What up, Ryan Fernandez? What is going on, baby? Can't wait to see you at BK. But I want to give a big shout-out to Ronnie Cox, Uncle Chuck Knudsen, owner of UCR, and Renee Angel. Those 3 individuals are responsible for getting Mr. Lane out here. They took care of the airfare. They're taking care of the room. They're taking care. It's just a good deal, and I think it's going to be great. So lots of exciting things coming up. Some things I can't really say on the air, but I'm just encouraging you to stay tuned. The UAS stuff around here is going to get exciting here in the next year. If everything goes like it's supposed to, it's going to be amazing. So if some of you are thinking, oh, yeah, it's kind of down in the dump, no, it's not. It's going to be lots of cool stuff going to be happening. Again, I can't really say, so I don't really want to spill the beans, but all I'm telling you is stick with it. Keep your positive vibes going, and don't sell your stuff. Do not. It's really going to be some neat happenings going on, I'm sure. Salem, I got a few results. Jason Suchich was on an airplane, and so I really couldn't. I could barely read what he sent me, but I did muster it. And so the few classes that I have from Salem, quarter midgets, Andrew Reel, Ethan Lashley, Dylan Wolf, box stock went to Ashley Borden, Jeremy Long, and Bryson Hall. Micro 600, Mike Millard with a win. Great job. Bailey Jean Suchich in second, and Victoria Wolf third, up and comer. She's really got her stuff together. Cole Patrick, Destry Miller, and Zan Miller were 1, 2, 3 in Micro 600 restricted. 250 cage went to Cole Borden, Sam Strange, Ashley Borden, and open cage, Devin Borden, Eric Schofield, Lane Taylor. I'll bet that was a battle. And that's what went on at Salem. Those are just a few of the results. I talked with my statistician, Matt Strebe. Nothing from WHR. I don't know why they're not posting like they used to, but they're not. So I don't have anything from them. So that's kind of what's happening there. So with that, we're going to be getting in here very shortly. Bear Tomasovich is going to join us, and we're going to cover some 8 topics on how you can be a better, if you're a track promoter or even if you're a promoter, you've got a small track or you're helping out. These are going to be some great tips to be keeping in mind with what's going on. Again, I feel so bad for Lippy losing his truck. I know that's a tough deal, and otherwise he'd be here tonight. Normally the loader, like I said, is right there, but he too going through some family change. So man, lots of stuff going on that we could be. Please say some prayers for those guys, especially the loader. Hey, what's up, Chris Worley? Hey, speaking of Chris Worley, Kyle Pease, what's going on, man? Can't wait to see you, buddy. Chris Worley's got the Worley tire tool, and you need to check that out. Midnight Motorsports. You can go to Chris Worley's page on Facebook. I don't know that Midnight Motorsports has a Facebook page. Chris, if you wouldn't mind, maybe type in your tire tool information on a comment. That would be super cool. If you guys haven't seen this thing, it is utterly unbelievable. Ronnie Swires had one, and I saw it for the first time. He made it out of a 3D deal, did it on his computer, and boy, the what do they call those? The prototype that Ronnie Swires got, man, it is a neat freaking tool, and it makes cleaning tires so nice and easy. Kyle, you'll really like this, I think, because it kind of is what you do. He kind of likes to dink around and make cool stuff. Chris Worley got it going on, and there's our guest. Your favorite drivers and people of interest in the motorsports world. It's time for In the Seat, powered by Blue Line Graphics. And here he is, our guest tonight, part 2 of the Track Owners and Promoters. His name is Bear Tomasovich. What's up, Big Bear?
Good evening, Terry. How are you this evening?
Dude, I'm lonely. I don't know if you heard or not, but Lippy was at work today. He went in to exchange some stuff at Home Depot, came out, and somebody jacked his box truck.
Yeah, I heard you talking about that earlier. That is a shame.
And he said, I said, well, what? He said, I had all my tools in the back. He says, I don't even really want to add it up, but he said, I had all my roto hammers. I had my DeWalt. He said 8 to 10 grand were the tools in the back, which I'm sure he's probably not going to see again. He may get the truck back, but I doubt any of those. Had all of his electrical stuff. He had, just pieces for jobs in there. It's like, who does that?
This makes you sick these days of what people do.
I know it. And he said they had to have been watching him, I guess, because he went in there and they took this thing in within 15 minutes. He said he was in there at 1:14. He came out at 1:33, and the truck was gone. So, man, I don't know. Kind of a bad. Yeah, and then the loader, his father-in-law is not doing well. He says maybe a week. So he's down there with his wife, kind of, I think, doing some of the final things there. So that's never any fun to do. So, man, lots of bummer stuff. I wish I had better news, but you're here, so that's awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. How about you? How are you doing? How's your week been? Or so I know it's a little early, but how's it been?
Been very good so far. Very fortunate. Took my family to the Tampa Florida area. Last Thursday, both my daughters competed in a national gymnastics competition in Tampa, Florida. Stayed down there, came back on Martin Luther King Day on Monday, and got back to the grind yesterday. So
Wow.
with the grind yesterday, had the Bears Den show on last night. We were talking about track owners and promoters, and not only do we talk about racers and tracks and what's going on in racing, but I had two promoters on the show yesterday.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, we had Chris Plank from the Cridersville area, which is a northwest part of Ohio that has a club track. It's not just a club track; they have money shows, but it's an owner vested track. And also, I had Braden Speakman on, who's putting on an indoor race in Marion, Ohio, in the old Coliseum. It's a very nostalgic place to race. So, two promoters talking about what they have coming on for the coming up for the 2020 season, and trying to get their name out there, and so guys know what's going on in the world of karting and racing in general.
Dude, that sounds awesome, man.
Oh, we had fun. Not too happy that Facebook took away the live-in guest feature, but still now we can have them call in and they can hear it clear, and we do have a lot of interaction and dialogue.
Yeah, I wish. That was a cool feature. I'm using the webcam off of my computer because they've totally screwed up the deal I had. I used to use my Canon XA10 that I have, which made it a crystal clear picture, but I can no longer use that too. So and then that RTMPS, I don't even know. Not even worth getting into it. It's just a shame that they give us the stuff and then yank it away. It's kind of a bad deal, but
right.
It is what it is.
We'll do the best we can with our words.
Hey, that's it, man. That's all we can do. And actually, radio's still a good thing. It's still good. Video's nice, but hey, the radio will always stay. So tonight we got 8 topics tonight, and we're going to get right started. Number 1 is now you have a track. You've got a place to race. Now you need to give people a reason to participate. You wanna elaborate on that, Bear?
Absolutely. So whether you own a track or you are promoting a series, whether it's a dirt modified or dirt late model series, all the way from Lucas Oil late models all the way down to your local Predator racing and beginner stuff, you did everything. You got the track ready. You've got the people's interest. You've put it together. Now you have to give them a reason to. You have to put things together. If you're a track owner, you have to have classes that are going to be reasonable to race in your area. You can't just have 500,000 to win races all the time if you're brand new starting out. And if you're brand new starting out on the promoting side, you can't just have big money races all the time. Maybe you're that fraction of 1% that can do that or has the money that do that, but you need to start out with giving them something to be interested in, something modest. So if you don't have a lot of contacts and sponsors and people that can contribute, start small. Start asking for product. Go to your local Napa, O'Reilly's, AutoZone, Advance Auto. Ask for cases of brake cleaner and oil and stuff like that, and give away prizes like that to start off with if you don't have the monetary stuff. Because a lot of sponsors aren't going to put their faith and money in someone that's not established. So be realistic. You're okay drawing 5 carts or 5 cars per class to start with, and make sure you pay out what you say. So if you're going to have a flyer at a track that says we're going to have local Saturday night racing and we're guaranteeing 100 to win every Saturday night, you have to pay out $100 every Saturday night, or you're going to lose the trust of the people that you have. So giving them a reason to participate, that $100 a week. People say, why aren't you doing 500? Because I can do 100, and that's what I know I can do. If you have a series, when we started out the Ohio Championship Karting Series 5 years ago, it was just junior champs and senior champs, and we paid out 125 to win, 125, 75, and 50. That's what we could do. That's what we put back in, and now we've grown it up to have over $8,000 to $10,000 payout events because we've gained the trust of the sponsors, the racers, and the other people that are involved. So that's what we mean. Give them a reason to participate. Give them, if you're a track owner, give them prizes or a monetary payout that you're consistent with. If you're a series promoter, get them enticed, but only do what you can do.
Right on. Welcome to the show, Sean Carr, Jeff McConville, Scott Rupert, and Brian Williamson. Things are going great. So, and let me ask you, number one, you said, so rather than have a lot of 500 or 5,000 to win shows or these big money races, is that so you're trying to gain the trust of maybe the grassroots people that maybe don't really follow that real big dollar stuff?
You're trying to get yourself acclimated to putting on a show or putting on a track and everything that goes along with it. The biggest reason we see tracks in series shut down, in our experience, is because the drama and the confusion or the hastiness of everything that is going on. They're just having a hard time. Either they're just having a hard time putting everything together, or they're so discombobulated with everything that's going on, they're scatterbrained. And not saying that it's not for everybody. When I started a track back in 2013, I thought it was going to be easy. Throw some dirt around. I was in for a rude awakening. And we started very small, 10 or 15 carts a night, and we're still pretty small, 30 to 40 carts a night, but we only have 5 or 6 classes. So you just have to start small and build from that. When you build from something small, you have integrity, honesty, and transparency, and people have faith in you, it will automatically grow. And that's what we based ourselves off of the promoters that we have been around with in Ohio.
Wow. Now, do you know Derek Foreman?
Yes, absolutely know Derek Foreman.
Yeah, he got on. He says, Bear is such an asset to karting. Keep up the good work. So
I really appreciate his kind words. Derek Foreman was a very good racer. He settled down in the last 5 years with his wife and child from the Central Ohio area. He was karting a lot of his life and got into the opens. Him and his father raced together, and always admired Derek's honesty and a lot of his perspective and what he did with the karting community, and always supported us from the beginning.
That's it. Michael Rose gets on. He says, Bear! That's
great
awesome.
Great people. A shout out to Michael Rose and Misfit Mafia Karting. Michael Rose went on his own last year and started his own karting business, to where he goes out and helps teams. He can be rented out to help for a weekend, and stuff like that are big assets to the community, especially for lower budget teams and big budget teams. Sometimes you just need a tire guy. Sometimes you need that whole asset the entire night. Man,
that's pretty cool. Well, let's move on. Number 2 is, and this to me sounds like a real important one. Include spot, and this may sound like obvious, but Bear will elaborate. Include sponsors in all you do.
That's very important, because sometimes you lose track, or you take advantage. I don't say you take advantage of the sponsor, but you take advantage of their generosity. So a local business might give you $100, and that might be big for them. $100 is big for most people, but if you just throw them up on the flyer as Acme Paint Company or something, and you don't talk anything else about them, they're not going to feel appreciated, and they might not sponsor you the next time. So making sure, given multiple social media is so powerful now, Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and the web, you can really brand things. Look at how many things you see on the internet now that have commercials all over them. YouTube, you can't watch a YouTube video without watching commercials anymore. And that's the power of advertising. So same thing with any kind of racing, any thing from Monster Energy Cup to Lucas Oil down to karting. So we print flyers up for series races, and we put all the sponsors on there, whether it be Burris Tire or Mike Dickerson Racing or the Midwest Racing Champions. There's a lot of people that contribute to all these karting events, but talking about them on the shows, putting them on the flyers, putting them on the banners that we make, talking at the track, and we have an announcer that's always in between practice and heat races and qualifying. And then, like, we're going to the Ohio Valley Karting Association swap meet next week. I'll be going live from there, and I'll have Mike Dickerson and Jamie Wheeler and all these guys that contribute to the karting, and it gets their name out there. So when you see them in person, I have a lot of people come up to me, not that I'm important, but a lot of people come up to me and say, hey, thanks for getting me hooked up with Jared John and Diamond Cuts. He's helped my karting program, or thanks for getting me on with Gerald Livingston and Thunderbolt Motors. We talk about them, and we give people options so they're not just limited and think they have to go to a certain person. So include them in everything you do. Talk about them as much as you can. I just talked about 4 or 5 sponsors tonight on your show. Might not reach anybody that's interested, but hey, I just had a guy move back from Texas and just raced with us about 3 weeks ago, and got him hooked up just on the networking of people that we talk about. Very important.
Well, both of us are trying to do the same thing, and I think they might not see it live tonight, but these shows are on, and it might be a week later or 2 weeks later that they come across our shows and they listen to them, and this is the kind of stuff that they hear. So it might not get to everybody tonight, but I do believe we're doing the right thing by we're kind of watering the bamboo, as they say, right? We're
absolutely
getting it out there. Ralph Kemper of Ralph Kemper Photography says, no matter the level of racing, at the most humble track, one of the most important items to do is to instill the feeling that this track is here to stay. Mow the lawn, clean up the parking lot, make sure the concession is clean and attractive, those types of things. That's a pretty important fact right there, too.
Perception is reality. So if people have the perception that things are clean and well-mannered, they're going to think that you're going to have a cleaner program, and there's just more transparency. In my track at Bear Track Speedway, might not always be the fact. We always make sure my father does all the mowing. My crew and I, with Jason Lance, we go down and we do the best we can. We manicure everything, and we do the best with what we have. So, yeah, I do agree with Mr. Kemper. We do the best we can, but sometimes people's perceptions are different than yours. But it is still in most track owners' interest to do the best they can to make the facility, yes, look like it's there to stay.
Absolutely. Great comment, Mr. Kemper. Number 3, invite sponsors to functions like swap meets or PRI or whatever the case may be.
It goes hand in hand with including your sponsors and everything. So including your sponsors and everything that you do is make them a part of what you do. I've got Matt Loker, who sponsors a Junior 2, Junior 3 racer. His company is called Love on a Leash. They're a pet grooming business. But we get over to the swap meets. Hey, we're going over to PRI this week. Do you want to ride over with us? That goes a long way. Or, hey, I'm getting a deal on tires. Do you need any tires? When you include somebody with what you're doing, they don't feel like they're just being asked for money, or they don't feel like they're being taken advantage of. So it's very important not only to include your sponsors, invite them to everything you do. Hey, there's a car show over here at the AutoZone parking lot, a cruise-in or something. Hey, you want to come over? A lot of people like that kind of stuff. Whether how small it is or how big it is, you're reaching out and being personable with them. And that creates a bigger bond, more of a friendship with the sponsors that you have.
Absolutely. I think that's huge. I think I kind of call it the shut up and bring your wallet syndrome. There's so many guys that you mentioned the word sponsor and they run because, they've been burned so many times by somebody that, and maybe not intentionally, but a lot of these guys, they get the money and then they don't do what they say they're going to do.
And that gives, that gives the promoter. So for every 10 promoters out there that are good, the one that does take advantage of it, does hurt it does put a black eye on all of the racing sport in general.
It does. And, and once you get that black eye, man, sometimes it's hard to heal that. You know what I mean? I mean, once those guys get burned, it's kind of like, see, I knew it. I didn't really want to do this, but I thought, well, and then it just reinforces in them that, hey, this is the way it's always going to be. And I think that's something that we got to really watch out for. It's not just shut up and bring your wallet. It's making sure you follow through with what you say you're going to do.
And I have no problem talking about the good and the bad. The bad does put the black eye, the guys that put the 500 to win races on. And when you get to the payout line, there's only 250 there. That's wrong. And I flat out say it. There is no, you guarantee the money, you put it on. These people are having trust in you that they're coming down and giving you their pit spot money, your gate pass money, and your entry fee money. And you have a responsibility to pay out. I can say that is one thing that I have never lacked in or never got away from or had to. I made sure, even if I had to suck it up for the night and pull $200-300 out of my own pocket to save face, you pay out what you guarantee. Always. There are no ifs, ands, or buts. That is the code, and you have to live by it.
Yes. Mindy Ray Haskins is on, and she says the sad thing is that racers are the ones ruining the tracks. One upset person about someone who has not the slightest clue of how hard it is to manage and run a track. You need to thank the ones that give you a place to race and help keep it clean before and after you arrive. What she got here, it says Seymour. Even if they do make you upset over a wrong call, or something's going to happen, it doesn't happen. Nobody's perfect, and nobody is going to. Let's see here. I'm trying to get down there.
Nobody's perfect, and nobody is going to run a perfect show. Close, maybe, but we are going to make a wrong call or do something you aren't a fan of. Bear in mind, a racer is one of many, and you have to make things work for more than one racer. It's hard to run a tight ship, and at the end of the day, even get a thank you, especially to the honest and good people who care about your money and your equipment and your love for the hobby. Initially, racers are ruining the sport. I also blame social media. People just want something to fire people up for. Good discussion. And I agree on a high level version what Mindy has to say, that racers are the ones ruining the tracks at a high level. But if we dig in deeper, my opinion is the track owners and promoters have to do what is necessary to make example out of those people. And one of the things we did is we put those people on notice. There's a lot of tracks that if we saw you calling a track an S-hole or a POS, you're banned from the track. So you have to be able to stick up. There was a group of us that did that the last couple of years, and we banned people from tracks. If you ran your mouth on social media, you weren't running anywhere in Ohio. And I can tell you the list of people that did that we banned, and it made examples out of them. But we stood together. Michael Rose said promoters and owners need to run their program. You can't and will never please everyone. That's 100% true. We don't. I don't want to get off topic. You run a tight ship, Terry, but this has to be said.
No, that's fine.
In the drivers' meeting, it's very pertinent. That's when you have everybody's attention. That's the only time you're going to have everybody's attention for the night, except when you stop someone on the track with a black flag. That's the only other time that you get your attention. So you have to tell them straight up. And I've added to my soapbox every time for my drivers meeting, and we tell them, this is how it is. If we make a mistake, we live by it. But this is the way it has to be. Whatever you're standing by, if two cars spin out, you're both going to the tail, or we make a judgment call, or the spinner only goes to the tail. You have to live and die by that. And if they want to challenge you for that and say it's BS, you have to be thick-skinned enough to brush it off and go the next week. But we can't have the drama. That's it. I don't know how I've put the same people to the tail 2 or 3 times, or 2 times to the night, and black flagged them, and they were done. And that's it. The ones that were in it for the sport to race, will come back the next day. It's a totally another day. The ones that just want to make drama out of it usually don't last till the end of the year. So we have to stick by our guns. We can't appease a group of people because you're worried about losing them. You have to get rid of them. And I've banned people from the track that never came back because I'm good friends with them, but they just, once they put that helmet on, something happens inside that helmet that they're not a racer.
Yeah, they take off their head and put on their helmet.
Absolutely.
Well, and I believe, too, that the driver's meeting is everything. I mean, that's where your precedences are set. If you don't, I mean, if you say you're going to do this, you have to do it. You can't, those guys are going to, I mean, it's their job to read the gray areas, and if you give them an inch, they're going to try to take 2 feet. I mean, that's just what they do. But if you set a precedent and you follow that precedent and you do that, I think in the long run, you're going to get the respect of all the other racers who understand what it is you're trying to do.
There's only really, I see, 2 things that will ever change during the race that you'll have to improvise on. One is weather. So say you got a weather front coming in and it's starting to dump rain really close. You might have to shorten up your features or change your program to accommodate getting all that in. The worst thing in a show that can happen is maybe you get rained out right in the middle of qualifying, stuff like that. The second thing that could change during the course of a program is safety. Say you have someone get hurt really bad, it knocks down the wall, like in big cars. A lot of times a big car, heaven forbid, knocks the wall down or knocks the fence down. You have to stop. You have to fix that wall. You have to fix that fence. Those are about the only 2 things that alter your program. Other than that, it has to be full steam ahead. A guy wants to stop on the front stretch, because he got roughed up, broke his cart. He takes his helmet off. He takes his neck brace on. He throws his gloves down the seat. No. I tell you, you get your cart off the track now. If they run their mouth, I'll take their cart off for them, and then they'll leave the facility when I tell them to. And that's it.
Wow.
You have to be in control.
That's a fact. Great point. Number 4, have a safety day and have new and seasoned racers participate and share their info and knowledge. I think this is a great one.
You can't guess or you can't take for granted that everybody is a seasoned racer. You'll have new faces show up all the time. So either during a practice day before the season starts or even offer an hour before your first race. Make sure you get people together. Some of the older guys I invite the older guys to come over. I mean, the guys like Michael Rose and Dickerson and Jared John, those seasoned guys, I have them come over so they get to mingle with the new racers. We'll go over the flags. We'll make sure that your lead is properly on your seat or double nutted. We'll make sure you have a proper safety attire. Just those little things will help that racer go a long way, because if they have a bad experience the first night, it's going to be harder for them to come out the second night.
Right. And, and also what that does is it really oh, no. What have I got going here? Uh-oh. Well, we'll keep going. I'm going to have to start over. I don't know what happened there, but we'll go live here again. There we are. I think what that does is it allows some of the veteran drivers. I mean, who doesn't like to be? Who doesn't like to have? Who doesn't like to be in the limelight a little bit? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Sorry about that. I don't know. It just kicked off, so I don't know. I restarted, so hopefully everybody's going. But we've got it going live on Spreaker here too. So, but I mean, I think that helps. It helps some of those veteran racers. Some of the new guys can look up to them and say, hey, wow, this guy's pretty cool, and it gives them a chance to get known and get seen. So, I mean, I think everybody likes to put in their 2 cents worth. So I think that's a really good deal. Number 5, it says, look for new sponsors and don't rely on the ones that you have or that you have had in the past.
You want to make sure it's a business also. So that motor sponsor that sponsored you for 20 years isn't going to be around forever. And there's no disrespect on looking for other guys to put up. One of the promoters I look up to all the time, Jamie Wheeler, puts on the Midwest Race of Champions. Slack Performance, big kart manufacturer out of New York, always sponsors the Midwest Race of Champions. Always been a great sponsor, been there from the beginning. Last year, Charger chassis got involved, and you kind of look at it and you're like, okay, Slack is a very big kart dealer. Charger is a very big kart dealer. Is there going to be a little animosity there? Absolutely not. It's showing that the karting community is coming together to support such a huge show. You've got 10, 15 different chassis manufacturers represented at the Midwest Race of Champions, everything from Slack, Phantom, Ultramax, Millennium, the list goes on. And the more sponsors that are involved, the more people are going to get involved. All the Charger guys are going to want to be up there and racing that race along with the Slack guys. So there is no shame in always going out and trying to get new sponsors to add to other classes. That's why the Midwest Race Champions is the biggest race in the Midwest now for karting, for dirt oval, because Jamie continually, his banner gets bigger and bigger every year, anywhere from $50 to $500 to $5,000. I mean, everything makes a difference. So those $50 adds up to $500.
Yeah, and I don't, let's call it what it is. You don't necessarily need to have one $5,000. I mean, it's okay to have 10 smaller ones, right? I mean, it's okay to have 20 smaller ones. I mean, the more the merrier, I think.
Absolutely. It's going to be very hard, that leprechaun at the end of the rainbow for you to find a $5,000 sponsor. Someone that's just going to dump money into it. So, like I said, even a case of brake cleaner or a gallon of oil that a kart shop sponsors, to give it as a second or third place for a junior racer, that $25, that oil will keep that kart going for a couple months.
Absolutely. And I'm also a believer too. I know on my show, I mean, I have a rate that I sell, and sure, people go and they may pay you every month, right? But then you have those that give you a lump sum and it covers quite a bit of stuff. And I'm a believer in those. Like I'll take somebody that even if they don't pay me, if they're doing really good things and they're out there hustling and I see that they're doing great. I mean, I got no problem putting them on my sponsor list for the show. I mean, I do it all the time. Even sometimes you gotta give in order to get. And I think people kind of maybe forget that. Moving on, let's see here. Number 6. This one is going to be tough for some to swallow, but man, no truer statement has been made. Treat your hell like family, because basically they are.
And the big point about that is what we talked about in the first show about starting small in doing what you can and eventually grow, but live within your means. I have in a lot of the well-established tracks will say they have the best crew that they have. The reason they have the best crew that they feel in the business is because they feel like family. They'll do anything for each other. I have I'll say it, I have the best right-hand man in racing in Jason Landis. He just got into karting about 4 years ago, knew nothing about karting, but he's one of the best mechanics I've ever been around. And anything breaks down, he can fix it. We treat him with the utmost respect. We get up to go to bear tracks, per se. We get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. We leave at 6. We get to the track at 7. We work all day. We get home 2 or 3 in the morning. We're with each other from 6 a.m. till 2 a.m. We eat, breathe, and sleep racing. His wife scores. His daughter helps me score. My father mows. My mom does the registration. I've got 3 or 4 other guys. Josh, that comes down and scores for me, and I take care of them the best we can. When we first started out, I couldn't pay them. I didn't have much. But now that we've moved on, and Jason, his wife, his daughter help me at other events, I give them what I can. We have a good night, they get more money. Other racers, Andy and Jessica Bowman, are always at all of our traveling events. Jessica does all the accounting stuff for us. So we take care of those people.
Absolutely. That was a typo. So I looked, because it said hell, but I think it's help. But I mean, but even some of your hell that maybe cause you grief, you still need to treat them like family.
Absolutely.
I think.
Because even the people that give you the hardest time show you what you need to do different to be successful. The people that give you the hardest time. I had this racer that I've raced with for about the last 7 years, and I called him an ask hole because he would ask every time what he needed to do. We tell him exactly what he needed to do. He would never do it. But we worked with him, and he started winning races. And I was so hard on the guy over and over and over. Not that I was better than him. It's just that we were more experienced in the racing and what we were doing. But worked. But even the people that give you the hardest time and the most heckling, they will teach you how to be a better promoter and a track owner.
Absolutely. But by all means, the help is the critical one there that you really do need to treat like family, because I know a lot of I don't know about you, maybe some of your really big help that's really in there, they may get a little something, but man, a lot of the help for a lot of these tracks, it's all volunteer. Some are paid, but a lot of it, the corner workers and some of that kind of stuff, a lot of those people are all volunteers. And so you really need to treat them, not that you treat the ones that you pay any different, but the ones that are volunteering, you really got to make sure that they feel like family. I mean, I think that's super important.
Mindy had a great point earlier, but my opinion, the biggest reason tracks fails because they do run out of help. They wear them out, they lose them, they don't treat them good, and they don't feel appreciated. That's my opinion.
Right. And you know what? And you know what? I'm going to tell you, Bear, all we have to do is look at how you function in your normal job. Nobody, I don't think anybody wants the big rah, hey, yeah, and all they want is a simple pat on the back and say, hey, you know what? Gosh, I really appreciate what you did here, or I really appreciate you being on time every day, or I really appreciate the effort that you always put forth whenever we ask. That little stuff goes a long ways. It doesn't have to necessarily be the big parade and the big, ticker tape and confetti and all that stuff. They just want to know, man, from the big guy, hey, you know what? I really appreciate you and what you're doing.
Absolutely.
Number 7. This may be a lot of people jump the gun on this, and I would say that it's easy to do because everybody wants to be that well-known guy. But number 7 is stay small until you have enough help to expand.
So I highlighted a little earlier, just using as an example, the Ohio Championship Karting Series. When Ethan Peters started 5 years ago, we just had 2 classes. We had the junior sportsman champ, and we had the senior champ. And what we did is we went to these tracks and we said, hey, can you incorporate us into your Saturday night program? We'll take care of all registration. We'll take care of all payout. Just can we use your track, and it'll help bring more people through the gate. So we would pick 4 or 5 tracks a year. We did that. The second year, did the same thing, but now we offered 150 to win. The third year, we offered 200 to win. And we got more people to help with scoring. The fourth year, we decided, we're doing pretty good here. We're averaging about 12 senior champs and about 10 junior champs. Let's try to incorporate flat cart classes into it. And we got a couple more people that were able to help score, do registration, help on the social media side. And we were getting more sponsors. So we added a couple more clone classes, and it took off. We got more sponsors, and it just snowballed. So now, instead of going to these tracks and saying, can you incorporate us in the program, we're renting the facility out now. And all four of our races this year, we are renting the facility where we're going to, and we're putting on our own standalone show. And we have to have the flagger, the 4 corner workers, the 2 at registration, the 3 pit pass people, the grid worker, the scale guy, and all those people are in place. And we have backups and backups to backups in case people get ill or can't make it. So don't try to get too big too quick. People say, why don't you have a 2,500 to win show? Because I can afford to do 1,000 to win show now. So try to stay within your means. Be humble. I wish I could put a show on like Billy Vandegrift did, SEMO, the insane one and stuff like that. I don't think I could ever put on that kind of a show. It was a testament itself. But
Bear, can I tell you something about that show really quick? I've done a lot of shows, but I want to tell you that I look back through I can look back through my stats, and I had 10,000 listeners on that show. I mean, to me, that's I had I had 6,000 for the race, 4,000 for qualifying. I mean, it was absolutely the biggest show I've ever done. I mean, it was just crazy, the numbers.
Absolutely. And I can see it happening again here in the next 5 years. I can see something like that happening in the next 5 years.
Well, Mr. Kemper has a question. It says, Bear, do you do anything special for the photographers? Not free admission, but help with access.
Help with access. Could he elaborate? I do have a media group called Double Deuce Karting Media, Ed and Regina Kiskade out of Maysville, Kentucky.
Great people.
Not only do they cover almost every race in the Midwest, but they do have a kind of a marketing side. They do wraps for carts. She's who I use for all the event flyers. She does a lot of graphics and lettering and vinyl. So for everything that I do, everything that's associated with the promoting of all the races, even bear tracks and in the Bears Den, we're always mentioning Double Deuce Karting Media. So they usually don't have to pay to get in. They do go live on all the races, or they videotape or tape all the pictures. Just like when we had our huge race, the Tanner Torres Memorial and the Josh Adams Memorial at I-70 Speedway last year. The pictures, we had over 10,000 hits just on that, because it was such a special experience and we had such a huge turnout for that race last year. But yes, we do a lot for the people. Michael Bales came to, he's a distinguished photographer.
Yes, absolutely, he is.
Covers UAS, and I follow him a lot on Facebook, and I'm being more educated on sprint kart racing and super speedway racing. He's very in touch and very distinguished about talking about motors and carts and stuff that's going on. So yes, he came. I didn't know who he was. He came to the big North-South Burr Summer Sizzler last year. Welcomed him in. He told me who he was, and I'm still seeing photos every day and week from him from the Burr Summer Sizzler and all that UAS stuff.
So now do you have, I mean, is it to where, and I think maybe what he's asking is, do you have a set deal for this photographer gets, they're going to be the only one here. We're not going to allow anybody else to shoot this, or maybe that's what he means by access.
And most of the times we do. I did have a Bear Tracks local photographers come in, and they say, hey, we'd like to shoot you this year. And a couple of the people where they would watermark or ink their pictures, and so they could sell those pictures to the racers and, make sports cars and stuff for them. So yes, they would have distinguished and access only if a photographer did come in for our event.
Awesome. we're getting down to the end of the list, and then if we got a few minutes, maybe you guys can chime in if you want. Brandon Day, good to see. Oh, Steve Blankenship in the house. Right on. Kevin D. White, thanks for tuning in. Number 8. This may sound obvious, but boy, do I see a lot of the I don't know if you call it greed or whatever, but work with other tracks and other series around you the best you can.
The key word there is the best you can. You're not going to please everybody. So the way we look at it from our eyes, and some people are going to have different views, is you're going to get more bees with honey. So I had the opportunity to work with Joey Terry and Steve Horner at the beginning of we call the silly season. Clay City Cartway is being revamped since Dumpling Valley's been shut down. Steve Horner and Joey Terry taking care of Clay City in Kentucky. It's a very premier facility. And they said, hey, Bear, let us know what you got going on with the Ox. Because we've gained some traction in the last couple of years, and we're getting noticed, and we're getting the quality racers and the quality events throughout Ohio. So I worked with them. Ed and Regina Kiskane are putting on the Outlaw Series this year, a big Run What You Brung limited modified and small block open series. And we're working with other tracks, the NDKN, the Northern Dirt Kart Nationals out of Northern Ohio. We're gonna step on somebody sometime, but our goal is not to have big events on top of each other. Buddy Wilson putting on the Indiana State race over at Ben Hur. I don't want to have a big Ox race the same day that big Indiana State race. Granted, it could be 3 hours away, but a lot of those clone and a lot of the money guys are going to travel in groups to that kind of stuff. So do the best you can. I have problems working with tracks that are even the closest to me. It's just the way it is. You try to work the best you can with what you have. At the end of the day, you can at least feel good that you're trying to do the best you can for the sport. That's why I have other promoters on, Chris Plank and Braden Speakman. I can't make it to some of their races, but I'm going to support them the best I can. One of my Ox races is going to be on the same night as a UAS race, but I guarantee you I'll be promoting and talking about that UAS Grand National race as much as I'll be talking about my Ox race.
Well, let me ask you this, Bear. I know here out on the West Coast, we there's a deal called the WARPA Conference, and what it is the Western. They get all the promoters together and they talk about different things that are working for them and things like that. But we have here. They used to call it TIE, but it's more or less the conference that we have, and it's more on the sprint side of karting. But I think they do a wonderful job, and I just wish they would, if we could find a way to incorporate the speedway guys and that type of thing, because what they do is they get together, and during this conference, it's over a weekend. It's the same weekend as they have their awards banquet. So they start early Saturday, and they work all day Saturday, and then of course the banquet is Saturday night, and then if they had anything to finish up, they do that on Sunday. But what they do is they set their schedules. So you've got 6 or 8 different clubs in there that are all saying, okay, hey, we want this date, we want that date, and I always thought, man, what a smart thing to do would be to get all those promoters together from the different tracks, speedway, road race, sprint, whatever it is. I don't know how it is back there because Michael Rose says anything bigger than $1,000 in the Midwest and you start turning off the locals. So, there's a happy medium there. But what if you had a deal where you got all these promoters together and said, hey, here's what we're trying to do. We're wanting to do it on this weekend. And this guy says, well, here's what. So now pretty soon you start making your schedule with everybody there. I don't know if that's possible, but.
And we have done that. We had meetings in Columbus, Ohio over the last couple of years. Just some choose not to participate because they want to do their own thing. Their goal is just to attract the locals on a weekly basis. And right, wrong, or indifferent, that's what they want to do, and we're not going to change their minds. So the group of us that do agree to work together do. And you see that in the form of Midwest Race of Champions, Northern Dirt Kart Nationals, the Ohio Championship Karting Series, Clay City, and the Outlaw Series. And those are the most prominent facilities and series in the Midwest.
Yeah, see, and I think around here for us it would be a good thing because even in the wintertime we've got Salem, we've got Roseburg, and then you've got down in California you've got the big cage kart deal down there where they I'm drawing a blank here, but everybody's scheduling on top of everybody else, and everybody's saying, hey, we're going to get all these guys. We don't care. I'm not a big fan of that. I just think, granted, like you said, you're not going to be able to schedule everything where you're not on top of somebody else. That's just, it's impossible. But
I'll give you another small example I know you have to go, but
we got a couple minutes.
Something that we're trying to help promote and push, and we're always looking forward. So a gentleman by the name of Ron Rollins contacted me last week. He's a clutch builder, Stealth Clutches, out of the Charleston, West Virginia area. He's gained a lot of traction over the last couple of years of being a great clutch manufacturer, clutch builder and rebuilder. Also races, is also helping promote Tyler Mountain Kartway outside of Charleston, West Virginia. So what we've been struggling with in the Eastern Midwest, we'll say, is the Predator motor from Harbor Freight. And we've put out, over the last 3 years, we put out some basic rules to try to get that low budget or amateur racer involved with racing. There have been some arguments over the years about the LO206 with Briggs & Stratton, with the longevity, it lasts 3 or 4 years being a sealed motor, and then the Predator, which is the most widely available overhead valve motor that you can find. Anybody can go into Harbor Freight and get one. So my whole point of this was, this week, Ron Rollins created the Predator Racing Organization, PRO, new site on Facebook. And what the goal is to bring all these tracks in the Midwest and further together with a very simplistic, basic set of rules for beginner and amateur racing.
I love it.
Nothing against AKRA and WKA, but that Predator motor, between a pipe and taking out the governor and what clutch you're using and at the top plate, and it just was so far all over the place that you couldn't go to a track with a Predator and run like you could with an AKRA. So the goal this was just to have a basic 3 rules: drill a hole in the gas cap, disconnect the low oil sensor, and put a clutch guard on.
That's what it's for. That's what we had here, Bear. We had guys that had 20 years experience. Now, I get that sometimes you want to just go and you want to do some mindless racing, but I don't care. That class is not for experienced people. That's for people that don't know anything, and they just want to come in and they want to start racing. You can't have experienced guys in that class in there cleaning up, and that's what we had. And there were guys cheating in that class, believe it or not.
Pulling the governors out, keeping steel fly, or keeping the stock flywheel.
And they were honing the big end. They were doing stuff that, it was ridiculous.
So we're still gonna get people to challenge us. I went live last night after my regular live show. I went live just to show them. I said, I'm not trying to disrespect anybody or belittle anybody, but let me show you things about the motor that even someone that has no clue can put this on their cart and go racing, just from putting a throttle linkage on, to disconnecting the low oil sensor, to showing them how that hits the governor and to make sure that it's not going over the RPMs that it's supposed to. We had a ton of views on that last night, and I'm no self-proclaimed Predator wizard or anything, but we're trying to give people alternatives, because we see the AKRA clone motor going in the same direction that the Briggs Flathead did. It's up into the $1,300 to $1,500 range now. I have 12 of the clone motors myself. I'm part of the problem, but we're trying to get people into the racing and keep people into the racing, so you don't have to spend $1,000 or $1,200. We know it's all in the tires, but you tell a racer that he can go a tenth faster with this motor, he's going to buy it.
Absolutely. Bear, tell us where they can find your show in the Bear's Den.
Absolutely. Under my goofy last name, which I go by Bear Tomasovich, on Tuesday nights at 8 o'clock. It's during race season, or during January to April. We're usually on every week at 8 p.m. Once we get into race season, we're usually pretty much every other weekend. And we're having John Hoosier on the show next week, distinguished racer out of the Midwest. And we talk about everything from having distinguished racers to promoters to track owners. I had Hermie Sadler on last year. A lot of great people and a lot of dialogue that we have on the show to try to promote karting and try to promote entry-level racing and a lot of the stuff that we do in the Midwest.
Dude, that's incredible. I'm telling you guys, you want to listen. I mean, you think our show's good, you need to check out Bear's show in the Bear's Den. It's awesome. And I'm just glad that we've collaborated. We're going to be back again on January 15th to close up this third and final segment of our track owners and promoters, and I hope you guys are going to be here to check it out because we're going to have some really good stuff. Bear, I got the big BK coming up the next 2 weeks, so not to put you on the back burner, bro, but it's just going to be, just a lot going on.
No, absolutely. I look forward to tuning in and watching all the highlights and the racing from the BK. I wanted to be out there this year. My brother lives in Seattle, and I was going to hit you up. It's just with what we have going on with the gymnastics and the stuff, the home life, I have to defer this year.
Well, man, whenever you're ready, you got a place here. If your brother can't do it, you've got a place here anytime. Just all you got to do is call.
There's a couple people I look up to, especially on the promoting side and the social media side, and you're one of the highlights that I always make sure to model ourselves after.
Man, thanks, Bear. That's huge. I appreciate that, man. And I look forward to we'll talk before then, but for sure we'll see you on the 15th. Sound good?
See you on February 15th. Thanks again, Terry.
You bet, Bear. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bear Tomasovich, I'm telling you, he is an awesome guy. Check him out in the Bear's Den. He is a wonderful guy, as you guys all found out. Next week, Lippy's going to be here. Hopefully he gets his truck back. He got it jacked at Home Depot. The loader, he's going through. His father-in-law is not doing very well, so he's in there in Oregon taking care of some of the final closings and that type of thing. So please say a prayer for both of those guys. They're just they've just had a go of it the last several months. So They'll be looking forward to having them back after the BK. Lippy will be here next week. We got 2 big shows for you. Next week, we're going to have Ronnie Swires on. We're also going to have Michael Lane, who is the head of the new UAS group that's going to be at every single Grand National trying to make these things bigger, better, and badder. And I think they're onto something here. So with that, for my co-host who isn't here, Glenn Lippy Tower, and the loader, Jeff Eden, I'm your horsepower and performance host, Terry Bridges. Thanks for taking the time out of your night. Man, I just appreciate you guys so much. And we'll see you next week with our big prelude to the BK. All right? Take care, everybody. Well, that's a wrap. We hope you enjoyed the show. If so, please like and share on Facebook. And don't forget to stop by TerryBridgesRacing.com on the World Wide Web and subscribe so you never miss a show. The audio version of tonight's show is now available on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, CastBox, or Podcast Addict. For the loader, Jeff Eden, I'm your horsepower performance host, Terry Bridges. And we'll see you next week for another episode of Late Model Monday, a Circle Left production.